So, keeping in with today's scheduling, we're going to be doing something you don't see a lot of people do, particularly in the YouTuber space. I'm going to be doing account reviews. And you might be thinking, well, a lot of people do account reviews, so how is this any different than the ones we've had before? I'm going to be going into co-op, and I'm going to be asking complete randoms if they'd like their account review live on stream. Once the account reviews are done, we'll kind of do some exploration, kind of walk around Leeway and look at the new lantern, right? But first, we've got some co-oping to do. So let's see who our first victim shall be. We'll try to keep things on the higher end of AR. For the sake of, reviewing a level 5, level 10 person. Not the greatest. It's also possible this is an entire bust.
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and
Thank you,
humans are the
Marika.
same.
Shush.
Except we call that light hope.
We have our first customer. Let us see. Mavika.
Exploration and trials.
Hello, hello, hello.
Adventuring is right up my alley.
Right now we are doing account reviews from random co-opers. Also, if you are interested in a account review, feel free to put your UID in the chat if you are an America server. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult for me to actually get to see your account. We are currently going to be reviewing Riley's Mavica. Alright, now let's take a look at this Mavica. Hopefully information is public. Perfect. Alright, level 80 Mavica. So, still in the building phases. I do recommend getting to level 90 at some point. Let's see. Snow Tomb Star Silver. Interesting. Let's take a look at artifacts. 4-piece Crimson Witch of Flames. What kind of substats are we looking at here? Crit rate, crit damage. Crit rate, crit damage. Attack percent. Off. Could do with a better, slightly better goblet, I would say. If you can find a way to get... Let's see what this is. This is a very nice flower. I think what I'm going to guess is the scaling, the things that could be improved from the artifacts. And I, more than anyone, know that Crimson Witch of Flames is a pain in the neck to farm by a significant margin. Mavika's best in slot tends to be the new artifact domain with Obsidian Codex from Natlan. However, this is a very close second. Hello, new viewers. We are doing account reviews. Currently looking at Riley's Mavika. That being said, if you are choosing to stick with Crimson Witch of Flames, I would recommend the two biggest things I could recommend in terms of artifacts. The goblet does leave a lot to be desired. It is obviously an on-piece goblet, so I'm not going to give it too much hate. This is hurting your Mavika's stats mostly because it rolled into everything but crit damage. And there's nothing you can do about that. Getting a better piece might be, trying to get one of those might be better for your Mavika in the long run. But let's look at how the stats kind of look overall. 62 over 122. Ideally, you're looking for a 2-to-1 ratio for crit rate, crit damage. So if you have about, 50% crit rate, you're going to want, 100% crit damage, things like that. I would recommend, personally, I think the biggest thing that's holding your Mavika back is this, the Snow Tomb Star Silver. Now, I don't know if you're a Battle Pass player, but there are some better options that you can get for her. In fact, let me pull up my list on my secondary monitor. I actually have a guide for these sorts of things, which can be found on my Discord if any of you ever need that kind of help. Let's see here. The problem with Snow Tomb Star Silver is it is giving a physical damage bonus, and it doesn't really play to Mavika's strengths. The melt can be nice. However, you are still kind of subject to that RNG of it being a 60% chance that it's going to actually fire. So it can be helpful. The other options that I would see, let's see. Gravestone is a good one. Mailed Flower, 4-star weapon. The Talking Stick from the Battle Pass is also can be nice. Serpent Spine from the Battle Pass can be nice.
Many
and then
insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same.
All right.
Except
and
we call that
let me
light
look at some of the
hope.
other 4-star-ish options that are currently out there in the world. And can we filter by Claymore? I don't think we can. That's fine. Looking at 4-star Claymores. This would not be particularly helpful.
Exploration and
you don't really care about the
trials.
skill that much.
Adventuring
Sadly,
is
the bell,
right up my
not
alley.
particularly great. Rain Slasher, obviously not going to be very good here. Akamaru, it's possible if you're running a team that has a very high energy capacity that this can be good. This can also be okay. It's not great. You really don't want energy recharge. You can probably get that through other means. This one's only good for characters from Leeway, so if you have, 3 characters from Leeway in your party, maybe this is worth it. Otherwise, I would say no. The Power Saw, not really that great. Let's see, what other options do we have? Favonius in general, I believe, would be better than what you're currently running. Just because it does fill up her energy meter. So you do have that going for you. And then I think there are a couple forgeable weapons. Particularly the one from Fontaine, I believe. But, let's see. And then I did not check talents. Let me check talents real quick. Welcome, new viewer. We are checking out Riley's Mavika. Talents at 466. Obviously, leveling up the talents is going to be helpful for your overall damage.
To follow the light, and humans are the same. Instead of confining themselves to the heavens, God should broaden their horizons in the world below.
So, the 3 biggest things I can say to help you. Obviously, leveling up the talents is going to be really helpful for you. I would prioritize leveling them as high as you can before getting Mavika to 90.
And trials. Adventuring
I would
is
recommend
right up my
trying
alley.
to either get an on-piece flower so you can get an off-piece goblet, because your goblet is the thing that's kind of, it's just, the stats aren't great for what you need. And there are better weapons. This is a decent placeholder for now. But I would recommend trying to either find a forgeable one in the future, even like Prototype Rancor to an extent could be probably slightly more usable. You're just not really... The physical damage bonus that you're getting is just not helping your Mavika deal enough damage in the long run, as there are better free-to-play options. Now, I don't know if you are in the stream, in the chat, or if you're doing the VOD. Hopefully this was helpful to you. And in the event you are not here, and I can type, I will kind of summarize it in the chat here.
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same. Except we call that light hope. Exploration and trials.
Cool.
Adventuring is right up my
Do you have
alley.
anything you'd like to add? Feel free to type it in the in-game chat or in the stream chat, whichever's easier for you. So apologies for me moving around. It's just so that my Mavika doesn't start talking and potentially, coincide with my mic. Yeah, my best recommendation for that is that there are the billets you can use to get some claymores. That would be my recommendation. Try to prioritize being able to craft one of those. Snow Tombed is really just one of those weapons that isn't really decent on anybody. Yeah, so I would kind of reinforce. If you have a billet, I would recommend trying to get one of the craftable 4-star weapons. Or alternatively, you can get billets from doing boss fights. So if you don't have one, I'd recommend just kind of doing those, and then you could kind of get. Snowtomb Starfilver is just has always been this kind of very
God
niche,
should broaden their horizon.
very niche weapon that honestly no one is really able to use to its quote-unquote potential. But hopefully this has been helpful. But yeah, that's the biggest amount of advice I could potentially give. The weapon is the biggest thing holding you back. Your crit rate, what weapon would be best? Let's see. Let me pull up the list of weapons that are craftable. I can give you my best. Let's see. Craftable weapons. Da-da-da-da. If I had to guess, the Earthshaker from Natland may be useful, but I'm pulling it up now to make sure I'm not giving bad information.
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same. Except we call that light hope.
Earthshaker. Let's see here. Yeah, so Earthshaker increases your attack by 27.6% at level 90. It is the Natland craftable weapon. And its base ability, it also has 565 base attack. When you equip, after a party member triggers a pyro-related reaction, the equipped character's elemental skill damage is increased by 16% for 8 seconds. This effect can be triggered even when the triggering party member is not on the field. So it would increase the damage of, for example, if you're using Mavika for her motorbike, that is considered elemental skill damage. And obviously, you would need someone in the party to trigger a reaction. Pyro reactions like melt. I see you have Hazo in the party.
Instead of confining
so
themselves to the
swirl
heavens,
would work.
God should broaden their horizons in the world below.
I believe that requires the Idlander billet. I'm not 100% on that. And then, if I don't know the full like scaling of the final version of that, but I imagine it's probably going to be increasing your skill damage at full refinement by like 24% when you get to full refinement. With that, are there any other characters you would like me to do a review of while I am here? Hazo. I can take a look at Hazo. Let's see here. Shikanoin Hazo. 15,716 HP, 1,676 attack. What are we looking at? Crit rate, crit damage. 59 over 75.
Exploration and trials. Adventuring is right up my alley.
Weapons. We've got the Mappa Mare. So we're going for kind of an EM build, I'm guessing. Okay, there's some EM there. EM there. Very nice flower. I can definitely tell you farmed the Viridescent set quite a bit. No crit rate, crit damage here, and then the Goblet, attack percent, with a bit of added on crits and a little bit of EM. Let's see here. Pulling up my tips and tricks for Shikanoin and Hazu. Let's see, where do we put Mappa Mare these days? So Mappa Mare is the, according to the Genshin Impact, so Genshin, if you don't know, Discord has an actual official guide on this. Something that I pull information from quite a bit. It is considered one of the four, it's the fourth most usable weapon, or tied for it. Do you happen to have either Solar Pearl, which is a Battle Pass weapon, or the Widsith? Widsith is a normal, I can say normal. You can get it from the normal summon pool. I will pull it up on stream as well, because I believe I have a copy of it sitting around somewhere. Da-da-da-da. There we go. Widsith. And do I have one at Max Refine? Yes, I do.
Instead of confining themselves to the heavens, God should broaden their
Alright,
horizons
in that
in
case,
the world below.
your best bet is with Mappa Mare. I assume you're doing for just, are you doing an Animo DPS, or are you looking for a reaction, like specifically reactions?
Tea parties are a must for the well-mannered. If you'd like to learn the proper etiquette, I'd be happy to teach you.
So apologize for the stream delay to those watching. YouTube has like a built-in timer delay, and I don't really think I can change that to an extent, so...
Exploration and trials.
Reaction. Okay, reaction is a different set of things. Do you have sacrificial fragments?
Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would
That
adore me so much?
Is this weapon. Okay, so the reason that is slightly better than Mappa Mare, in addition to just having an 80% chance, which is, you know, quite high at high refinements, and I think it's around 40 or 50 at just base refinement rank 1, but let me verify that information before I get false. 40%. It just in general, I believe you're currently using Mappa Mare, which I believe it maxes out at, let's see here. Yeah, level 80 you've got 101. Sacrificial Fragments gives almost double that, because it's at 201. Even with level 90, it's still going to be almost a 100-point increase. And since you're going for reactions, you care about EM a lot. So the biggest help I could give, beside obviously saying Sacrificial Fragments, there are actual... you can get artifacts like your mask. Crit's not really mattering since you're just doing reactions. So this can be EM. The goblet can be EM, like the main stat. So instead of crit EM, instead of attack EM. And then the sands can also just be nothing, just be EM. That would increase your overall EM by about, if I'm factoring in the weapon and then the 3 of those, it's about 187, I believe, for a main stat on each of those. So just rounding up, let's just round down to 150. That would increase your elemental mastery by 500. Obviously you can't do this immediately, but it's something to kind of like work farm for. That would increase your EM to at least 700. And then, you know, from similar standards, working on talents is also going to increase your damage quite a bit, particularly when you get to that point.
Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Instead
Something
of
I might
confining
actually be able
themselves
to,
to
let's
the
see.
heavens.
I don't know how leveled my Shikanoin is right now. Where is my Shikanoin Jesus? Something tells me not incredibly leveled. Yeah, he's only level 50, so I can't give a very accurate... if I level him up to 60, I might be able to do something. Yeah, I can't give him a fair demonstration because I have him too underleveled. But yeah, just increasing your EM. I've been playing since day one. EM was not something Animo used to care about that much. They kind of changed that once reactions became more popular. But nowadays, 90%, I would say, of Animo characters care more about EM than any other stat. But yeah, that's the best amount of advice I could give for that. Hopefully this was helpful.
Exploration and trials. Adventuring is right up my alley.
there's anyone else who'd like me to review, I can take a quick look at them, or I will head off to the next person. Thank you. Hopefully this was helpful, and feel free to send a message or anything like that if you want help building the characters and such. I try to hop on and help people when they're needed.
Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Until next time, I suppose. And with that, we move on to the next person. Hello. Is doing account reviews. What's interesting? We have just hit the 1 hour mark on the stream.
Instead of confining themselves to the heavens, God should broaden their horizons in the world below.
We have a
Being
customer.
too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Alright, so we are looking at Raiden, Nouvellette, and Mavika. Is the information public? It is. Let me make sure. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started with whoever is first on the list. And that will be Mavika. Second Mavika of the day. We have a 58 over 213.5%. Weapons, we have the Tidal Shadow, which is very good on her. Particularly if you are using her with a healer specifically. Obviously, without a healer, the weapon's not great, though it is an attack stick. So, stat stick for attack.
Isn't there
Considering how much
anything else
Mavika
more
cares about attack,
interesting to do?
makes a lot of sense. Good weapon choice. Also, how is Mavika not breaking this hand? I'm just now noticing this, and it's very concerning. Okay, moving on. 4-piece, 2-piece Obsidian, 2-piece Nighttime. Let's take a look at substats. 29.5%. What a piece. 12.8. This other substat's not great. The attack is nice. Flat defense, whatever. But
Many
overall,
insects
good piece.
have a compulsion to follow the light.
Attack percent
And
Goblet.
humans are the same.
13 points. I
Except
thought that
we
was
call
crit rate,
that light
crit rate,
hope.
crit damage were switched. Jeez, that's really good. And interesting. An EM Sands. Why an EM Sands? Is it just so you have a bit of Elemental Mastery? What kind of constellation? C0? 1-6-10.
Tea parties are a must
Alright, so
for the
for
well-mannered.
Mavika.
If you'd like to learn the proper etiquette, I'd
Also,
be happy
let me
to
check the
teach
chat
you.
just to be sure nothing's changed. Cool, cool. Alright, so, looking at Mavika. My biggest change, I guess, would be... I'm not super sure on the need for the EM Sands, besides if you're just trying to get a little bit of EM, but you're losing a lot of attack for the place of that, where you're putting attack into all these other places. What else? The weapon seems fine if you're using it with a healer. There are other options if you're not, like the new Natlan Claymore, but if you're using it with a healer, this seems fine. particularly one who can heal consistently and not like one time.
Isn't there
Bennett
anything
would be a
else
good
more
option
interesting to do?
for setting things up like that. 4-piece Obsidian Codex is generally considered the highest play rate for Mavica. That's going to be hard to live up to a couple of these pieces. You could go Pyro Damage or Attack, whichever one is either easier for you to find, or if there's a negligible difference between the two that you have, then either works. So there's that. Next up was Raiden and Neuvillette. Let's take a look at the Neuvillette. Neuvillette, 1000 attack, 727 defense, 19 EM, 37,000 HP. Are we doing an HP stick? 40 over 303. What kind of weapon are we rocking here? Tome of the Eternal Flow. Makes sense, makes sense. That explains a bit of where the HP is coming from. And then let's take a look here. 4-piece Marshosei Hunter. That is his best in slot. Decent off-piece. Very nice Marshosei Hunter Feather. Very nice Flower. Some minimum rolls, but nothing to be scoffing at. Veteran's Visage rolled into flat HP, which it is scaling his HP, so it's probably better than attack here, so it worked out fairly well. And then this is just an HP stick. Rolled a lot into flat defense, which stinks, but otherwise it's not bad. And Constellation 0, 10, 8, 8. I'd recommend getting these talents up to 10. It's always nice to just have that extra damage at points. Otherwise, he could use a bit, unless you have an external source of crit rate. I'd recommend getting this up to, try to get it up to 60. You lose, honestly, even trying to find a replacement for this, you'd obviously lose out on the crit damage, but being able to crit more consistently is, you know, very helpful. You'd lose out on damage when you crit, but you'd crit more often, which, especially in things like Abyss, can be very helpful. If you have an external source of crit rate, I think Rosaria can provide external crit rate and a couple other people, then I wouldn't worry about it as much. Oh wait, you're running 4-piece Marashosei Hunter.
Tea parties
Ignore
are
me.
a must for the
Ignore me.
well-mannered.
You're completely fine, because this will increase 3 stacks to 36%. So you're going for 77% crit rate. Yeah, you're 100% fine. This is a great build. Great build. Quite honestly, you could even do probably with a slightly... Oh, no, that's... Yeah, 70 is about where you want to be. And then, finally, we have Raiden Shogun. 2004 attack. We have 866 defense, 37 EM, 240 stamina, 90,000 attack, 62 over 174. I'm gonna... Let's take a look here. How much the energy recharge? 234. I'm gonna guess Engulfing Lightning. No, Primordial Jade Wing Spear. Alright. We have 4-piece of Emblem of Severed Fate. Energy recharge on the sands. Very nice flower, very nice feather. And crown could be better, but it's not horrible. Goblet, very nice goblet. Attack percent. I run attack percent myself. 589. At the very least, I would recommend getting Muso Shinsetsu to max level. Just, you know, get that extra final bit of damage in. Beyond that, Jade Spear is an interesting choice, though I completely understand if you don't have the catch, going for the catch. Fishing takes a lot of time. It is worth it on Raiden, and it might even allow you to switch out your energy recharge sands for an attack percent sands, which might increase your overall damage. Beside that, I mean, honestly, these builds look great. The artifacts are insane. And I don't have any real
Boring.
things for Raiden or Neuvillette.
Anything else more interesting to do?
Why did it capitalize the O in 2? Somewhere eyes? And then my advice on Mavika was double check. Obviously getting her to 90. And then that made sense. 4-piece Echo, I believe. And then the EM. The question on the EM. Sands.
Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Let's see.
Boring! Isn't there anything else more interesting to do? Tea parties are a must for the well-mannered. If you'd like to learn the proper etiquette, I'd be happy to teach you.
Thanks, Frank.
Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
And a happy lantern in not caps lock. And leaving after what is hopefully a success. It's Nouvellette.
I see the value in my own work, but I also see the meaning in all the endeavors of the people of Fontaine. I believe I will
Fontaine,
continue
you're
to
not
take pride
one.
in fulfilling my duties.
Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Perfect timing for an account review.
Phlogiston engraving is quite the deep field of study.
Tea parties are a must for the well-mannered. If you'd like to learn the proper etiquette, I'd be happy to teach you.
He says, as Nouvellette politely Sips and then drops the glass on the floor.
Engraving is quite the deep field of study.
Teach this man some manners.
For just an engraving is quite the deep field of study.
Being too
I think 8 or
popular
10.
can be such a
8.
hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Let's end it on a big one. Got 8 characters here.
Melusines are beautiful creatures.
Yes, they are.
They are the pride of Fontaine.
Starting with
Be sure to
Kayaraka
befriend them
Kazuha.
and cause them no harm.
796 EM. I'm guessing an EM. Actually, I'm guessing not an EM weapon. That's what I thought. Bavonia's sword. Not bad on Kazuha. What kind of artifacts? 4-piece Viridescent. Those are always a pain. Crit rate, crit damage, but of course it doesn't really matter when you have EM. Very crit damage. EM. These are honestly very good pieces. Could use a bit more EM here, but you know, this set is incredibly horrifying to farm. EM. C2. Very nice.
Boring.
And the Triple Crown.
Isn't there anything else more interesting
42
to
over
do?
83, 796 EM. I don't know if I have anything I could potentially recommend here, but let's double check with my list of tips and recommendations.
Water comes in many flavors to the discerning palate. Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water possesses a depth of flavor unlike any other.
And what about now?
Sumeru's water, meanwhile, has a rich and complex flavor
Kazuha.
profile, but it must be savored patiently to
The
full
only real
Parties are a
recommendation,
must for the
I mean, it's on
well-mannered.
par
If
with
you'd like to learn the proper
Ziphoss's
etiquette,
Moonlight. If
I'd
you
be
have
happy to
Ziphoss's
teach you.
Moonlight, which I believe you can only get from summoning on the weapon banner, so understandable if you don't. It's slightly better. Also, you do have the difficulty with this of your crit rate is currently 42. So having, you know, just around the 50% crit rate, because you do only get the crit, the elemental particles on critical hits. So right now you're getting it around 4 out of every 10 times. Or, you know, 2 out of every 5. So maybe finding a way to up that ever so
Boring.
slightly.
Isn't there anything else more
Melusines
But
are
overall,
beautiful creatures.
this looks great.
They are
Also,
the pride of Fontaine. Be
very
sure
nice.
to befriend them.
totally unneeded.
Cause them no harm.
Very funny to level up the normal attack to 10. Shows real dedication. Must be one of your favorites. Let's look at Kamisato Ayaka. 0 EM. We're on the exact opposite of the spectrum. 800 defense, 2094 attack. What kind of stats are we looking at? 35 over 199. I'm going to guess Blizzard Strayer. Yes. What a feather. My word. Flower, kind of eh. Could use double crit. This one, man, that is a lot of
Being
attack.
too popular can be such a hassle.
Could use some crit damage
knew the
here.
people
And
would
then,
adore
what is this
me
Water
one?
so
comes in
much.
many flavors to the
Looks very
discerning
nice.
palate. Mondstadt's water is
C0,
crisp
what kind of
and
weapon?
pure, while
Lion's
water from
Roar.
Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water
For
possesses a depth
Ayaka,
of flavor unlike any other. Sumeru's
I
water
would
meanwhile,
recommend.
has a rich and
let's see
complex
here.
flavor profile, but it must be savored
Getting some more crit
patiently
damage
to fully
substats is always going to be
appreciate it.
nice. If you have Finale of the Deep, Aquila Favonia, Skyward Blade, even Anamoma Kaguchi, would be kind of...
Tea
It's
parties
just
are
better
a
in
must
general
for the
than
well-mannered.
this, since this only
If you'd
goes
like to
off
learn
of
the proper etiquette, I'd be
pyro and
happy to
electro,
teach you.
which sadly she is neither. Also, Anamoma Kaguchi in particular, it lowers Ayaka's energy
Melusines
recharge
are
requirement,
beautiful
so that
creatures.
allows her to kind of
They are the
allocate some of that
pride
ER
of Fontaine.
substats to other offensive
Be sure
substats,
to befriend them,
such as attack.
cause them no harm.
I would also, even if at the very least, I'd recommend Harbinger of Dawn, which if you have that at R5. Ah, hello. Okay, usually have her on Mist Splitter. Yes. Okay, with Mist Splitter, this makes a lot more sense. So I will forego this. In terms of the artifacts, everything looks pretty decent. I'd recommend trying to maybe find a better piece than this, since you really didn't get a ton of crit on that, and you could be capitalizing on that a bit more.
Me so much.
Obviously, you're getting 40% crit rate here, so technically speaking, this is
Water
75.
comes in many flavors to the
But you
discerning
could
palate.
probably find a way to get,
Mondstadt's water
you know,
is
up
crisp
to
and
80
pure,
or 90
while
pretty
water from
consistently.
Liyue has an enduring aftertaste.
A blade embraces its
Because we all know if you're not 100,
as a
then
jeweler
you're
cherishes
basically
their
never critting.
gems.
Alright, looking at Nouvellette. So far,
Has a rich
Kazuha's
and
been great.
complex flavor profile.
Ayaka,
but it
I'd give
must
like
be
a
savored
9 out of
patiently
10.
to
There's some
fully
minor
appreciate it.
improvements, but overall, she looks fine. Nouvellette, 63 EM, 1142, 33,888 HP. 62 over 211. Are we thinking Tome of the Eternal Flow? No, we are thinking Sacrificial Jade. Alrighty. Let me pull up my Nouvellette thing. Sacrificial Jade is his second best in slot beside his actual main stat, or his main weapon of Tome of the Eternal Flow. 4-piece Marchose Hunter, his best in slot artifact set. Could use some crit rate, but that's a lot of crit damage, so it works out. My word, that's a nice feather. I've seen a lot of good feathers today. Crit rate, crit damage. The HP flat kind of hurts, but the fact that he scales off HP does help out a lot.
More interesting
Hydro
to
damage
do?
bonus, crit rate, crit... My goodness, these rolls. These must have taken a very long time to farm. Oh, and even, yeah, managing to get the HP substats. You have these substats with a HP main stat? Very impressive. C1, makes sense. And 1067. I'd recommend leveling these up if you have when you have a moment. But otherwise, these look fine. Nouvellette looking great. At the top 1% Farina Haver. Time to be stringy. 42,493 HP. Guessing 68 over 152. Alright. We have Key of Kaj Nasut, which makes sense. It does increase our HP scaling. Such a shame that this weapon was Nilu's proficiency and does not look like it goes on Nilu at all. Get a little bit of EM for reactions. 4-piece Golden Troop. Very nice. Could use some crit damage here,
Tea
otherwise
parties are a
it's alright.
must for the well-mannered.
Jeez
If you'd
Louise,
like
that's
to learn
impressive.
the proper etiquette,
Rip that one defense
I'd be
roll.
happy to teach you.
Crit rate, crit damage, looks fine. Goblet. Yeah, the only main thing I'd have here... Oh my goodness. Very nice. Try to get double crit stats. You could probably get this up to 70...
I see the value in my own,
71, 60, or
but I
you know,
also see the
75,
in
180
all the
even.
endeavors of the people of Fontaine.
And
I
then
believe I will
talents.
continue to take pride in fulfilling my duties.
Definitely recommend getting the ultimate up to 10. The amount of damage increase for party-wide that she can offer with that ultimate is ridiculous. And even just buffing herself.
Being too popular can be
And
such a
Caesar.
hassle. Who
Alright.
knew that...
Xiangling. First 4-star of today, besides Seekinoi and Heizu. 15,655 HP, 1,219 attack, 215 EM, 68 over 115. What's the ER look like? 237? Is this a catch? Yes, it is. Very good on
Melusines are
her.
beautiful
Makes sense for her to
creatures.
have it.
They are the pride of Fontaine.
Yes, they are.
Be sure to befriend them and cause them no harm.
I will not harm a Melusine. Very well. Yeah, this is the best 4-star option, so it makes sense for her to have it. Artifacts, we're looking at Emblem of Severed Fate, makes sense. Honestly, it low rolled, obviously, and I think it rolled once into attack flat attack, but otherwise, it's alright. This looks fine. Obviously ER. You're getting EM, so this is fine. Crit rate, crit damage. You got some energy recharge here. And then, geez Louise, that nearly takes over the crit rate stat. Very nice. C6, of course.
I see the value in my own work.
And
But
8,
I
9,
also see the meaning in
13.
all the endeavors of the people
This looks
of
fine.
Fontaine. I believe I will continue to take
You could
pride
level
in
up
fulfilling my
Woba.
duties.
But it's not mandatory, and you've got this crowned, which is what you need for the national team and basically any team that wants a pyro applicator. Zhongli. Defense? No. HP. Okay, that makes sense. 55,000 HP. Very nice. 1,162 attack, 756 defense, 91 EM. Gotta love that random 91 EM. 29 over 91. I'm guessing this is just an HP
Water
stat
comes
stick.
in many flavors to the discerning palate.
Black tassel.
Mondstadt's
Let's see those
water is
HP.
crisp and pure,
14.6.
while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste.
46.
In
And the flat is
Inazuma,
nice.
the water possesses a depth of flavor
46.
unlike any other. Sumeru's water
And
has a rich and complex
46%
flavor
with a bit of flat HP.
but it
The only
must
thing I'd
be
recommend
studied
here, honestly,
patiently
is
to fully
this is a
appreciate
very
it.
nice piece to be on someone who can't really use the crit stats since you're just doing HP. So if you have an HP goblet that has, worse subsets or even just has, HP percent and flat HP somewhere, this could probably be allocated to someone you've either building further down the line or just be put on someone who might be able to use it better. Because, you're losing out on, double crit rate plus crit damage for that. So, 41 CV. Hello, new viewer. Welcome. Doing account reviews.
I see the value in my own work.
All right,
But I
Yelan.
also see the meaning in all the
1221,
endeavors of the
587,
people of
40
Fontaine.
AM, 93
I
over
believe I will
176.
continue to take pride in fulfilling
All
my
right.
duties.
Aqua Simulacra makes sense. It's rerun enough times at this point. 4-piece emblem. 17 and 7. That is that crit rate. That's a bit rough, but it's fine. She does care about HP a bit. 10.6, 10.9% crit damage, crit rate, EM a little bit, some energy recharge. She doesn't need that. This could stand to have crit rate, crit damage on it. You could also test with HP percent. I know some people do try that. It really just depends on, and then energy recharge. Interesting. But because you're running Emblem of Severed Fate, that makes sense. Constellation at C0. 3610. Assuming you're using her as an off-field DPS, makes sense to crown this. If you're using her more on-field, hello. Welcome, Shishir S. Lingering Lifeline, if you're using her on-field, then I would say
Melusines are beautiful creatures. They are the pride
that
of
would
Fontaine.
work. Otherwise...
Be sure to befriend them and
But yeah,
cause them
if you're using
no
her on
harm.
field, I recommend leveling this up. Otherwise, this is fine. And then we have Navia, who is getting buffs right now. 697 makes sense. Recommend getting that to 10 if you're using her for on field. I am not live on Twitch. I am live on YouTube. I believe currently it says we have 3 viewers.
Tea parties are a must for the well-mannered.
I do not stream on
If you'd
Twitch,
like to learn
only
the
here on
proper
YouTube.
etiquette, I'd be happy to teach you.
2,766 attack.
Water comes in many flavors to the discerning
1,075
Mondstadt's
defense,
water
89
is
EM,
crisp
23,000
and pure,
HP, 70
while
over
water from Liyue
142.
has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma,
Do I hear a
the
bird?
water possesses a depth
Well,
of
Scrape
flavor
Stone.
unlike
Makes sense.
any other. Sumeru's
That is
water, meanwhile,
fairly decent on her
has a
from what I
rich
remember.
and complex flavor profile.
Let's see
but
here.
it
I
must
know
be
I've got my
savored
Navia
patiently
guide
to
with
fully
me
appreciate
somewhere
it.
around here. There it is. If you have Serpent Spine, it is
Being too
considered
popular can be such a hassle.
better.
I know the people would adore me so much.
Otherwise, Wolf's Gravestone is fine. Yes, we are. I'm doing random co-op account reviews, as well as if anyone is in the chat and wants their account reviewed, they can put their UID in, and I will do an account review for that as well. But right now, we're kind of just going into the co-op system and seeing if anybody wants their account reviewed. Giving outs to the masses on this start of Lantern Rite. Alright, looking at artifacts. Nighttime Whispers in the Echoing Woods. That's her best in slot. A lot of crit rate. It is a shame. I mean, you have defense, so that's nice. Shame no crit damage. Crit rate, crit damage looks very nice. This could stand to be better. That you're only getting it rolled once into crit rate. She doesn't care that much about ER, and certainly not about EM. And then this, you got defense out of it, a little bit of attack. It's all right.
If you'd like
I think
to
your
learn
biggest,
the proper etiquette,
the thing
I'd
killing
be
you the
happy
most
to
here
teach
is
you.
probably the.
But I also see the meaning in all the endeavors of the people of Fontaine. I believe I will continue to
I
take
would
pride in fulfilling my
recommend
duties.
switching this out for a Geo Damage Goblet when you have the chance. And then I would also recommend trying to get a better feather at some point. With that being the case, I do highly recommend, if you have any of the Sanctifying Elixir, do not use them. There was a developers discussion recently that said that they're changing how that works. Yes, Shishnair, I can review your account if you want to put the UID in the chat.
Boring. Isn't there
Asia
anything
server.
else more
I
interesting to do?
am not really. I don't think I can do
Water
Asia
comes
server
in many
from
flavors
here,
to the
from the
discerning
game
palate.
itself. So I'm
Mondstadt's water is
sadly not
crisp
able to
and
help there.
pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma,
I believe that
the
is
water
everybody
possesses a depth
from
of flavor
your
unlike
account,
any other.
Amelia.
Sumeru's water,
Hopefully this
meanwhile,
was
has a rich
helpful.
and complex flavor profile, but it must be savored patiently to fully appreciate it.
I will leave you to your Nat Lanning.
Phlogiston engraving is
Happy to help.
quite a deep field of
Hopefully it was helpful in some form or another. Welcome back just in time for Lantern Mage. I will let you get back to your Nat Lanning. I will try to have the VOD up for this later today. So it should be up for posterity if you need to come back. We are going on an hour and 45 minutes, so we're going to try to do one more account review with the... see if the person we were trying to help previously ended up working out. Can I see... I can. Alright. Unable to join Sphinx's world. Alright, we're going to do Sphinx's review from here. And I will try to let Sphinx know that we have been able to access this. So starting out, Mavika, 1970 attack, 1009 defense, 30 EM, 17,922. Alright. Also, yes, that will work. Alright. 1,000 Blazing Suns, obviously best in slot for Mavika. It still disturbs me how this looks like her wrist is breaking, but it's fine. Artifacts. 4-piece obsidian. See these stats. Crit rate, crit damage. That is a lot of crit damage. Shame no crit rate. Crit rate, crit damage. Has attack, so it's alright. And then what's the goblet? Ooh. Recommendations for Mavika. C0 as well. Obviously leveling up the talents, particularly for skill and burst, to 10. Artifacts, highly recommend getting a 5-star goblet. Even if you don't have the greatest substats on it, you obviously get more damage out of it just from that. What else here? This is okay as a placeholder. It definitely could stand to be updated, though. With crit rate, crit damage, you're losing so much by having that 24% defense and that 11% HP, since she doesn't really need that. Otherwise, this looks fine. Bit of low rolls, but it's fine. She cares about attack, so the 15% attack isn't horrible. Obviously, you only have 27% crit rate, so you're not critting much, which is why I would recommend kind of getting some extra crits going on. And honestly, if you can find a crit rate Obsidian Codex helmet, even if it has, you know, not great substats, critting 187.6% 20% of the time versus critting 122% 60% of the time, one is definitely better than the other. Moving on to Navia. 2200 attack, 1037 defense, 0 EM, 22,995 HP. We do have Verdict at level 80. Look at her artifact bag. So let's see. That's the weapon. It is true that this does increase for 6 seconds. That is true. However, even with that, it's 67 over 187, which is alright, but you are relying on that artifact a lot, and that still does put into the effect that these two pieces could be, or these, where is it? These two pieces could still be vastly improved to increase overall damage and make that crit rate even higher. So yes, maybe you don't need to worry about this as much, but these two pieces could still be worked on to be better, just to increase the damage overall. Back to Navia. 0 EM makes sense. Do we have a Geo Damage Goblet? We do not. Defense Goblet, maybe? Verdict, of course. Alright. Increases attack. Gains Geo Damage bonus after using an elemental skill. And increases 150%. From this. Okay, so that makes sense why there's no Geo Damage bonus. This looks fine. This could stand to be slightly better. This is fine. You have defense on it. HP percent goblet. I'd recommend trying for a geo damage. I understand you're getting, you know, a decent amount of defense here. But obviously, she doesn't really need the HP. Geo damage would obviously increase her overall damage. And then, in general, just looking for crit rate, crit damage substats for a couple of these artifacts would be helpful to increasing your damage in the long run. Since you do have this, you don't really need to worry about geo damage bonus, so that's nice. The goblet, obviously, it helps to have geo damage just so you can stack it as much as humanly possible. But, and then obviously, I'd recommend getting at least Ceremonial Crystal Shot to level 10 if you're using her as a DPS. Mualani. 1219 attack, 161 EM, 800 defense. What are we looking for at rank per damage? 19 over 204. Weapon, we have Surf's Up. Recommend getting to 90 when you have the time. What do we have here? Obsidian Codex increasing by 40%. That would put this at 59. So I would recommend trying to get some extra crit rate in there somewhere. Let's take a look at the pieces. This is rolled really into defense, which is hurting. This is okay for now. Definitely recommend trying to improve this. Just crit rate, crit damage, even EM if you want to do for some sort of EM build. Just an overall, these are good placeholder pieces. Highly recommend, if depending on where the Mualani is in your build state, definitely would recommend farming better artifacts in general, just so that you're, you know, able to crit slightly more consistently, and you can probably crit for a lot more if you get some decent artifacts for that. Kanish, level 80, 1778, 894, 32 over 202. Do we have the proficiency weapon? We do. Triggers burgeoning reactions, increases elemental skill and burst damage. Okay, so nothing coming off of that. Well, constellation, C0, 666. Same general idea with the talents. At the very least, getting the skill. Though Hail to the Almighty Dragonlord is very helpful as well. Artifact-wise, this looks very nice. I recommend finishing leveling it up so you get that last addition to the substats. This is alright. Could have used crit rate, but that is 26.4% crit damage, so... And also could even be upwards of 30 when you get it to plus 20. And definitely recommend trying to get some sort of crit rate here. As the substat, not the main stat, since you are getting 40% from Obsidian Codex, of course. And then this is a fine goblet. Alright, Clorand. 1741, 941 defense, 37 EM, 68 over 115. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. Black Sword, R1, so Battle Pass weapon. That, I believe, is fine on her. Let me double check my guide here. The only weapon that might be better is Calamity of Eshu, but I believe that's you can only get that from weapon summoning, so it makes sense you don't have it. Looking at artifacts, this may also be a freshly gotten Clorand, so I won't be super heavy on that. This looks... I mean, the 24% defense is fine, but you do have crit rate, crit damage, so it's not an immediate fix. This is fine. Recommend trying to get 5-star versions of the goblet and the mask when you have a chance. Constellation C0, talents. If you're using her actively, obviously, kind of same to what I've said on a couple of previous ones, leveling up the talents. Arlecchino. 2137, 1132, 32 over 183. Crimson Moon Semblance, grants bonds of life, damage bonus, damage bonus. Okay, so 22% coming from that, so you're getting 11% from your artifacts. And you're not gaining any crit rate from this. Crit rate, crit damage, so this is fine. This could stand to be improved. You just really want to be able to crit. This is okay. It's a pyro damage goblet. Could definitely need a crit rate. If you're not going to go for crit rate main stat, then crit rate substats on a crit damage piece. And then this is fine. Constellation Scene 1. Similar to before, recommend leveling talents when you have the time. Seat Lolly, 632 EM. Obviously caring about EM, it doesn't matter as much for the substats of everything else. You have her weapon. How much EM are we looking at here? Let's double check my guide here. Constellation 0, 656. For this one, I would recommend leveling her skill as the priority. I'd also recommend just getting... You've already done it, started on it here. Just getting EM on all 3 of these is the main stat. The crit's only super useful if you're using Favonia's Codex, but since you're using this, you're fine. I could focus on just doing EM so her scaling is better. Chaska, 1874, 34 over 203. I'm guessing Obsidian. You have the first Great Magic. I believe that's pretty okay on her. but let's see here. Yes, it is her second best, tied with Aqua Simulacra. Obsidian Codex makes sense, so you have the 40% increase, so 74%. That's alright, because it has EM, crit damage. Crit damage could stand to have crit rate here and attack. She doesn't really care about HP that much. Could definitely stand for an improvement here. Attack percent Goblet is fine. Could use crit substats. At the very least, crit damage. And you have crit rate, crit damage here. The substats aren't great, but it's good. We already saw this, so she looks alright. Talents, obviously leveling up. Skill, priority, then burst. Yelan. If you're using her off-field, I recommend leveling the ultimate. Using her on-field, you can level the skill. Aqua Simulacra. 66 over 174. Stats are looking great. Emblem of Severed Fate. Could stand to have some crit damage on here. But your overall stats look fine. Oh, that 20% defense hurts. This is very nice. This is alright. I'd recommend trying to get a 5-star piece because you get the additional 4 or 5% energy recharge. And then kind of same, just in general, the 5-star artifacts are going to be better for you because at the very least, even with horrible substats, the main stat is going to be increased. I think it's 44.6 or 46.6 when you have a 5-star version versus 34.8. C0. And then, as I said before, talents. Wanderer. 1826 attack, 816 defense, 82 EM, 57 over 143. We have Tutelaya's Remembrance. Obviously best in slot. Are we running Desert Pavilion Chronicle? We are. This is fine. Could use some crit rate, but you also have 82 EM on this. He doesn't care that much about EM. So I would say there are probably other characters who can use this EM. Even like Seat Lolly to an extent, if you're just trying to do EM as an off-piece or whatnot. This is fine. Animo damage. Could stand to have crit rate, but nothing immediate. And then, similar to what I've mentioned earlier, it's nice to have 5-star just because of the increase in stats. Otherwise, Wanderer looks fine. And Chiori. 1811, 1362, 66 over 158. Guessing proficiency. Correct. C0. Talents, recommendation as usual. Level what you can. 4-piece Golden Troop. Recommending a Geo Damage Goblet here. This is alright. Stand out crit rate, but you're fine. Crit rate would be decent here as well. And same as kind of before. See you later, Anya. Crit rate, crit damage would be just in general helpful. But you are 66 over 158, so your weapon is kind of helping carry here. And with that, we have done everyone on this list. I will come in, see if I can tell Sphinx that the review has been done. It will be on the VOD. Try to join. Alrighty. A happy lantern rite to you and to everybody as we are closing out the stream.